Good morning. Well, this morning I am really well wrapped up. I have a fleece and a thermal on because we are going to be doing something a little bit different. I guess kind of maintenance of my car. While we were in Chamonix last week snowboarding, my PTC heater failed and that left me with no heating for the last few days and the drive home, which was less than pleasant, but I guess luckily the temperatures were quite mild in Chamonix, so it wasn't too big a deal. We've bought the parts to actually try and repair the PTC heater because it's hideously expensive to get replaced. Even from independents, it's just the part is over £700. So my partner, who normally sort of like supports me and does a bit in the background with these videos, is going to take centre stage today, and we're going to be taking out the PTC heater. He's going to be trying to desolder and then resolder the MOSFETs, which is probably the bit that's gone wrong. And we might then have to replace the 40 amp fuse. Now, apparently the 40 amp fuse is the biggest pig to get to because the box that it's in is up against the firewall in my Model S. And even more annoyingly, apparently the bolts are facing the firewall rather than facing outwards. So we're going to be using a few other people's notes and videos to do this. I'll post the links in the comments below. My car is luckily, it's a rear wheel drive, so hopefully we have enough space in the Frunk to be able to get to all of this stuff and to do this ourselves. So I guess keep watching, and I will try and document our journey for trying to fix my car. I don't want this video to get too long, so I'm going to split it into two parts. In the first part, I'll deal with getting to and inspecting and repairing or replacing the PTC heater. And then in the second part, I'm going to look at getting to the forward junction box and replacing that troublesome 40 amp fuse. First of all, before we get into the video, here's a quick disclaimer and warning. This is a video diary of what we did. It's meant for information. It's not an instruction book. I'll include links to all of the service manual pages and other people's web pages and videos that we've used to help us in doing this process in my car. I'll link everything in the description below. In this video, we are going to be handling the high voltage in the car. The high voltage is DC electricity. It doesn't mess around. It will kill you if you get this wrong. So if you do not know what you are doing, please do not attempt anything in this video. Please take your car to a HEVRA registered garage or take it back to Tesla and get professionals to look at it. As I said, DC electricity will not mess around, it will kill you. So please take the warning seriously. And with that, let's get on with the video. Well, we managed to squish my car into the garage. She's 17 feet long, I believe, so a little bit of a tight fit. Hopefully we've got enough room to work around the car today. This is my mechanic for the day. His name is Dave, and we're going to be taking apart my glove box and interior to get to the PTC heater.
Hopefully without breaking anything.
Hopefully without breaking anything. Quick channel plug. If you haven't already, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel because that helps drive the algorithm. And if you've got any suggestions for things that I should be covering, then feel free to send me a comment and I'll see what I can do. The first job is getting this glove box out, which involves prying off this side. We've got some plastic spudgers and we've read the Tesla website and we are now prying.
I'm trying not to break.
And trying not to break things. first bit off. Top tip, whenever working on a Tesla involving pulling the power, you should always open doors and put the windows down, because then you can always get in and out of the car and it gives you a bit more extra room to work. The next bit to come off is that big white stretch there, I think.
Yeah.
There are apparently 13 clips involved in this. There we go. Gloves being worn because the car might bite. It's a bit weird how this bit needs to come off before the bottom bit, but those are in the instructions.
These are the instructions.
Yay, there it goes. So now the lower trim panel's coming out. Much easier. So now there are 6 screws that need releasing in and around the glove box. I think there's the top 3 up here. And then there are more down there, I think. So what size Torx bit did you put in there? 220?
T20.
T20.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. T20 Torx. To undo these, I've got a lovely picture of the back of your head. There we go. These bottom ones are quite fiddly to get to. Gosh, yeah, they are fiddly.
So I'm done. I'll have to get the magnetic puller for that. Let's get the magnetic puller so we can get these screws.
There's a motor clip harness to undo.
And then there's the glovebox light.
The light.
More out there and it close. It's trying to close on me.
Are you going to need an extra pair of hands like with me to help?
Oh yeah, okay, so.
There we go. Glove box out.
Oh no, there's another
I
one.
think. Oh, there's something else. What else is there down there?
I think the detector to know it's shut, basically. The sensor to know it's shut. There it goes.
So there you go. The inside of the Model S dashboard. So the next thing to come out, which is really hard to see because the interior of my car is now really dark, is the side panel trim on the center console, which is that great big black piece there. And it said there were 10 clips on it, I think. This is Dave in a footwell popping clips. Right, so what we've done so far, we've loosened this piece down the side of the centre console. The instructions seem to imply that that was in 2 pieces. It isn't. Dave's taken off the side panel, which was carpeted, which is potentially the bit that they were talking about, off the side of the centre console. And that right there, if I can balance the light over here and then point at it, this bit right here, this is the PTC heater. So that's the bit we need to get to. So I think the next bit to come out is this bit, which I think is the passenger knee airbag construct. But we're currently reading the instructions again for the third time to see if they make sense.
I'll buy these.
So there's an extra bit of plastic trim up underneath there, which the instructions were referring to as driver's side and connected to the instrument panel, but clearly there is still a plastic bit on the passenger side which we hadn't removed. Right, so there's 2 T20s and 4 10mm bolts to come out of this section.
One goes into the metal, I'm pretty sure. And then I think this is the other one that goes into the metal. That's the T20s. Now the 10mm, these are really nasty because I think there's some up here behind going reverse to there. I can feel one there and going on, I think. And then you got 2 this end, so up here on this bulkhead. And these are going to be probably tight.
I think it said 10 Newton meters.
Probably not going to be fun. Let's go for the easiest first.
We've now brought out the power tools for undoing these things. Dave has now employed a, as my dad would say, thing of purpose. Let's see if I can get the camera around here so you can see where the heck this bolt is.
Right, so what we're doing is we're looking up into the footwell, and we had one here and one here, 10mm, quite tight, quite difficult to get a spanner in on them. And then when we look back the other way, on the opposite side, ooh, and where we can see up here, you can see there's one here, and there's also, I believe, one around here somewhere, there on the back.
Right, so these bolts have Loctite on them as well.
Making them a bit harder to get out.
Right, I think that's all 4 bolts out now.
Yep, and there's also, looks like a cable loom attached to it back here. So I'm going to try and push that off first. The plastic. Right. I think this is loose, no? Might be one more T20. They didn't mention.
Well, I said 2. Maybe they meant 3.
I think they meant 3. That to me looks like that's still attaching a metal bar. They did mean 3.
Okay, so that's another brace bar coming out.
Yay.
What do you think you're doing now?
I think I'm disconnecting this. I just don't know how. Oh, there's a tab.
See around there.
There's a tab on the top. There's a spring tab on the top. I can feel it. Yay! Yay for tabs. Oh god. Yeah, there's a tab on the top of it. So it's probably a push down, release the cable. I can't really feel it. So it's probably push down and pull. So if I can push it down far enough, there it goes. There we go. Released. So then there's 2 screws on this, yeah? Somewhere.
I think that's what it said. I can go reread the instructions.
That's all right.
Okay, so now we've got to undo a couple of screws that attach
I think I might have to get in upside down.
all that ducting
Can't see
that's
it.
in the back of there to the PTC heater. So Dave is now going upside down in the footwell to try and find those.
There somewhere. Oh my god, it's inside the duct. It's actually inside the duct opening. Do you want to pass me that?
Alright, passing Dave the phone.
So, if you can see that, it's actually inside the duct opening. They didn't mention that. Right.
Right, so now Dave is going for the PTC heater. Whoops. Which is, oh my goodness, all the way under there somewhere.
Yeah, you got posi drive screws here and here, just to be very careful because this is 400 volts HV. Okay.
Just found an extra screw at the back, sort of by that HV cable.
So easy to get to this one.
The instructions do say 3 screws, so it's just difficult to find.
Yours is a Gen 3 PTC heater, by the way. Okay, so in theory, yep, the PTC heater,
PTC heater is now moving.
Oh yeah, I got it. Come on. Here you come. It's off. So now
What bit's that?
that's the logic connector.
Logic connector.
So that's how the car MTU talks to the PTC.
Okay. And the whole thing is now sliding. There we go. That is a Gen 3 PTC heater. Dave bought some special I'm going to handle 400 volts even though it's switched off gloves, which as you can see have 1000 volt warnings on them. And the plan is to take a voltage reading across the PTC heater to try and work out whether the fuse is blown as well, because the fuse is under the hood and up against the bulkhead and in a very difficult place to get to. So if that hasn't blown, we won't be bothering with that bit, but suspicions are it's blown, but we need to check. Okay, do you want to explain what you're doing? Because this is like
Right, so
beyond
this
me.
bit you should only do if you're confident. You have to be incredibly careful. This is now high voltage when you open up the PTC heater. There is potentially over a 400 volts DC flowing into here if the fuse hasn't gone. So really you should go do a HV high voltage awareness course. What I'm wearing is basically high insulation rubber gloves in case I come in contact with the DC to keep me insulated from it. I have a multimeter, and importantly I've checked that the voltage range covers up to 1000 volts DC, because otherwise you could get electrocuted through your multimeter.
Let me zoom in on that.
Max 1000 volts DC. Okay. And the plan will be to pop these little tabs around the PTC back of the heater, which will expose the PTC's circuit board, and onto that circuit board the two high voltage lines are going to be bolted. Okay, and the plan here is to take a voltage reading across the HV lines alone. Remember, the HV is isolated from the low voltage circuit, so never bridge between the low voltage circuit and the high voltage circuit. You must only ever test each circuit individually. So we're going to test across the HV. What I suspect is when we turn the car on and ask for the heating, we will get 0 volts across there, because the actual fuse is blown in the forward junction box. Because I suspect one of the MOSFETs has failed and short-circuited and taken the fuse out. But I want to double check this, because getting to the forward junction box is a pain in the ass. So if we can avoid it, all the better. Okay, that middle one out in it. So there you go, it's cracked on that side. Similar tabs on the back. At least 2 of them. So you can see it's cracked all around there. This is where you have to be very careful. We've got the lid on. This is where you can see the HV circuit there, and effectively I suspect there's 0 voltage across these two HV terminals, so we shall go check. So make sure you get your polarity right as well. So black is on the left where we're looking at it, where it is on the right you can see the polarity is on the wires at the end. Make sure you're on the probes, make sure you've got your gloves on. I'm going to measure across these terminals, see what we got. 0, absolutely nothing across there. Right, so Sarah, if you can power up the car and actually see if we can get the I would have to attach the logic to get the heating on, but I suspect even if you power up the car, as the contactors close, that HV should come up regardless of the logic. So let's try that and do another voltage check.
Car is powered up. I'll put the screen on.
So I'm seeing 17 volts. Very few volts across there. Obviously that should be reading more like 400, but we're seeing about 16-ish volts across there.
Okay, I can try tapping the brake to wake the car up properly. Right, that's my pin to drive in. That's the car definitely on because my seat is moving into position.
And now the volts have gone to 0. So no voltage now. Okay. So that probably tells us the fuse. Well, it does tell us the fuse is failed.
Yay! So we have to change the fuse as well. Joy, joy. Look at the happy face about having to change the fuse.
Yeah, well apparently this is the easy part of the job. It hasn't been super easy.
Ah, yeah, look at this. This is the easy part. All these bits apart from my car.
So next job before we go touch anything around here any further now is to go and do a voltage shutdown. So you want to shut down the high voltage at the very minimum basically, but because we need to now unbolt the PTC heater from the car.
Right, off we go. So in order to do an HV shutdown, I've powered off the car and we're now taking out the frunk trims so that we can get to the HV power off ish. These are always awkward. So that's these bits down here, I think.
There's the fireman's loop.
Yep.
I think we also need to do the low voltage as well.
Okay, so we're now taking out another panel so we can get to the 12 volt, which is underneath this bit. Whole tub coming out. Thank you very much. I'll pop that on the floor. So disconnect lights.
Switch.
And that can come out. And then all of these bolts need undoing. And then eventually this bit can come off the back of that. And then you can get to the 12 volt, which is just peeping through there. Right, so that's the side covers gone. They unscrew and then pop off. That's the back cover gone. There's some clips like around the back of here that need undoing, and then they're connected by drains on each side and it lifts out. And then there's also a big piece of ducting that goes across here that lifts out once you've disconnected all of that and removed it all. So now we can get to the 12 volt and we can get to the first responders loop.
Take this off, the negative. I'll do that. Just get a 10 mils. Come on. All's on nice and tight.
I guess the old lefty loosey righty tighty thing.
Yep.
Right, that's the 12 volt officially disconnected.
Now for the 5 mils loop. Let's check everything is. All the screens are off.
Right that way.
Guess it's pushed the tab.
Right, so that is the first responder loop disconnected. That was not easy to do or get to, and we're a little bit worried that that part is going to oh, big finger. That part just there is going to disappear somewhere down inside the car at some point, so I'm going to have to be exceptionally careful about that.
The 12 volt.
And the 12 volt is off, and I think that's my Hanshow Power Frunk controller, which was busily flashing with a red LED, and that is now dead, so that is implying that everything is switched off. And would you like to explain how you did the first responder loop, because that was not easy?
There's a little black plastic tab on the top which you've got to push until you hear a click, and then you just pull. It's as simple as that, but like with most things you want to be careful, don't force anything, you really don't want to break that.
Yep. And as I mentioned, that is really difficult to get to. It's sandwiched between the screen wash bottle and the brake fluid bottle.
Yay.
And it's probably been held up by the fact that it's sandwiched between those two bottles. So that is like a scary socket that we do not want to lose. So now everything's powered off. Dave's going to do another voltage check.
I'm still going to switch to safety gloves, because if you've got fuse contactors, even though you've pulled the loop, it might still be powered up. So always with DC, safety first. So I'm going to take a meter reading again, even though I'm pretty sure it's all off, because I've got various things telling me it's off. I'm going to be sure before I touch these, because what we're going to do is unbolt the HV terminals. So what we can see over there is millivolts, so it's safe. I am going to still keep my magic gloves on.
Okay.
So we're going to need a spanner, 10mm spanner.
What size do you want?
I bet it's a 10.
Oh. Most things are a 10.
I think the key thing is to remember when we put this back together which side the positive went and negative went on.
Yep, very important. As you can see, the HVs have actually got a piece of black tape and a piece of red tape on them, which is very helpful. I have worked on vehicles before where all the wires are the same colour, which is very unhelpful.
Aviation, for instance. Possibly a posi drive ground wire there. Onto the MOSFETs.
There you go, electrical tape. Now we have all the wires, and Dave's just going to cover them up for safety.
The worst electrical tape in the world. It's covering the positive, as you wouldn't want something bad to happen with that. Even though it's all powered off, it's harm to be safer.
And over here we now have the disconnected PTC heater. Okay, so next job is seeing what's broken on the PTC heater. We've got some parts.
That's the big fuse, which unfortunately we've just had a look where the forward junction box is, and it looks like the most inaccessible thing in the world. Yay. And then because the MOSFETs are about, we've got them from RS, and they're about £3.33 each. There's 6 in the PTC, so we're going to just effectively replace them all because they age and then the semiconductors can fail. Okay?
So that's what MOSFETs look like.
But this is basically a like for like swap.
Okay.
And on the
those,
PTC,
those are, oops,
there they are down the back.
Those bits along the back.
And often it's apparently MOSFET 1 who fails, which is how this works, as I understand it, is these MOSFETs get switched on in series. I think there's basically, it switches on 1, then it switches on 2, then it switches on 3. And that basically increases the heat output of the PTC. So if you imagine, most of the time you're going to need only a low heat output from the PTC. So MOSFET 1 basically gets the most use, and often this is the one which effectively fails and then short circuits and takes everything out. So you could just possibly change one, but I figured if we're going in here and they're only £3 to £4 each, we might as well replace them all and be safe, because it's only a matter of time before the next one fails. So in theory, the one who gets used the most goes first, then it'd be the next pair who could fail next, and then finally the ones you use infrequently on full power, unless you're a very cold person.
So Dave's taken the thermistor off this end here and is now undoing each of the screws holding the MOSFETs to the heatsink.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead with numberings.
So you've got numbers on the silk screen here, so you can see I think it starts with, I think that's a 3. Number 1 is here, so this is the one which often fails. Next one's 5, I think. 6, 2 and 4. So obviously it's trying to spread the heat across the array, but this will be likely the failed one.
So next thing to come out is the board. I think there's a screw in each corner. Okay, so the board doesn't appear to be moving, so we're figuring it might be attached to the heater elements. So we are taking off the plastic cover, which involves doing the
A couple of
push
screwdrivers to lift those clips each side, and then take the cap off.
Take the whole end cap
And then we've got
off.
some
And then
more
there's
this end we've got to do,
more at the top.
and withdraw this.
And same on the other side. There literally are no instructions for doing this because I don't think anybody else bothers repairing a PTC heater. There we go. I'm going to see if we can work out if the PTC heater is actually broken by doing some continuity tests on it. Dave is checking continuity of the heater elements here.
Resistance, yeah. So we can see that we've got almost zero resistance off the heating element for number 1. But if we go and look at heating element number 3, go up to about around 140k kiloohms, and that's the same on all of them. So that indicates we have a short circuit to a negative from where we should have resistance through the element. Now the question is it short circuiting through the MOSFET, or is it short circuiting through the heating element? Goes.
Right, so what we've done there is we've just cut the leg of the MOSFET so Dave can do the same check and then work out, hopefully, whether it's the MOSFET or the heater. So same check again. No.
Not looking positive. It's reading quite a lot higher than all the others, isn't it?
Mm.
Is it going down? Let's try it. It's quite a lot.
So, any verdict?
We might have a damaged heating element as well. Maybe the heating element shorted basically, but it's showing a lot of resistance. It's difficult to say because it's on the circuit, so because it can feed back through the MOSFETs. But I don't know. At least with that one isolated, we're pretty sure that is the dead one. In theory, you could put this back in and you'd get some heat because the other should still work. So just to go back over that, so we're measuring between the heating element pin and one of these commons over here. There's these two by the caps on this side, and what we should be reading is between 1.5 kiloohms on the single, where the MOSFET controls the single one, and what you can see is we're in the mega ohms, so this element is gone wrong. If we measure the one next to it, which is controlling a single element and is presumably good, and you can see we've got 1.5 kiloohms, and if we go to one of the dual MOSFETs next to it, you'll get about half of that because you're going into parallel because it's running two elements, which you do, 800 ohms. So yeah, I think we can conclude that the heating element has failed on element 1. And so because of that, to give us any chance of turning this back on, we've cut the MOSFET out, because if we just change the fuse and put this in even with a new MOSFET, it would just blow straight away again because the heating element is faulty. So it pretty much tells us that we probably need a new PTC. However, with this cut out, we should get some heat out of the PTC. We'll just be missing element 1, so it may not be able to do temperature control as granular as it used to.
Which buys us some time to go and find a PTC heater.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we still need to go in there and change this fuse. Joy. Okay, so after having had a close, super close look, we think that is a scorch and an arc mark. When I zoom in, yeah, that looks very much like a
looks like a short circuit.
A short circuit scorch. And that is
on element 1.
On element 1.
Which
so
perversely isn't in the first place on the element. But yeah.
So yeah, we are going to need a new PTC heater. Damn it. Next job then is to put the PTC heater back together, and that can go back in the car because we will try and find maybe a second-hand part. Maybe I'll have to stump up for a new one, and then we'll pull it out and replace it another day. So the rest of today's mission is going to be replacing this 40 amp fuse. So for the moment, Dave is putting the PTC heater back together. There we go. Busy replacing screws, and then we will put the plastic cover plates back on, and then it's ready to go back into the car, I think. Rather annoyingly, that means I'm going to have to either find a second-hand PTC heater that's guaranteed to work, or I'm going to have to stump up for a new one, which I think is something ridiculous, like about 750 quid, probably plus VAT from Tesla. So for the moment, we are going to put the old one back in, since that element 1 is isolated, cut out. The heater's not going to be as effective, but at least I'll have something while we try and source another heater. So yeah, we're going to put the old one back in and then set about changing this fuse, and then hopefully I will have some sort of heating. Now we're literally reversing what we did taking the PTC heater out. We're reversing that to put it all back in again. So the heater's gone back in, now the ducting's going back in, and then there's an airbag cross brace and the plastic trim. That's most of the interior of the car back in. We've got no power at the moment, so we're not going to finish closing up the glove box and stuff, because once we close it we won't be able to open it again. We need to check the alignment of it, so we're going to need power for that. So before we do that, we need to get in the frunk and change that fuse, which is going to be the next job.